What's good, everyone? It's JamalHaki, and today I'm going to be doing a video on everything that you need to know about Glocks. Now, one of the main reasons that I'm doing this particular video is, for starters, I own a lot of Glocks. And secondly, when it comes to my main reason for creating this channel, JamalHaki T.T.G, I wanted to be able to provide a level of education and information for anything that I'm dabbling in, right? I don't want to just sit here and shoot guns, go to the gun range and display my collection without even giving you any kind of information for the handguns that I'm operating, or even how to operate it, or even the function of some of the things that's on the handgun itself, right? And I feel as though it's my duty as a licensed handgun carrier, right, to be able to get that information out to you guys. So for starters, one of my goals is for this video is for me to not only break down the importance of the handgun in itself, but to really undress this head to toe and to tell you not only a description of the part in itself, but give you a purpose and function for that particular part on the handgun. And I think that'll be important. If you don't find that important, please, by all means, click off the video. But for people who do find things like that important, so you're sitting here operating a handgun and you ever wondered to yourself, hey, what does this little switch thing do? Or what's the purpose of this lever switch thing, right? You clicked on the right video if you're someone that's wondering about those things. So without further ado, let's go ahead and head to a different view of this video so we can go ahead and break down and undress the Glock. So as I've already previously explained, the goal of this video is for me to show you everything that you need to know about a Glock, especially if you're someone that's looking forward to purchasing a Glock and you never handled a Glock, or you're just trying to compare and contrast a Glock in comparison to a Canic, a SIG, you name it, any kind of gun, CZ, any kind of handgun out there that you may be thinking of getting. My goal is for me to break down everything that you need to know about a Glock. The Glock that I'm going to be using today to kind of help explain and break down everything that you need to know will be my new Glock 47. Now, it doesn't say it on the slide because this is a custom slide, but that is going to be the only thing that is custom outside of the iron sights when it comes to breaking down a stock OEM factory Glock. Okay, so everything that I have right here is pretty much what you need to kind of, you know, dig your hands into a Glock pretty much. I have my gloves that I like to use because you will get some oil or carbon on your hands, and you don't really want to be doing all that stuff. But if you do, you know, you can easily wash it. Since I never use this gun, it's not going to be too much carbon residue or oil that I'm going to be getting on my hands, but I'm still going to use the glove anyway. I have this roller tape, which I like to use for when I'm taking like a puncher, right? I'm taking something like a punch and I'm placing the gun right here, and I want to be able to punch out the trigger pins, but we're going to get to that very soon. So I have my roller tape, and then I have a couple of tools that we will be using very soon in the video. So for starters, we have, let's go ahead and start with the top of the gun. And by the way, all this stuff is documented, so I'm going to be reading off the script. So let's go ahead and start with the top of the gun. So with the top of the gun, we have the slide. All right, we're going to start with there first, and then we'll work our way throughout the rest of the upper. So what's unique about the slide is that it's machined from high quality steel. Okay, there's serrations, right? These things right here that you see, these lines are called serrations. Serrations machined on the side to aid in the following. All right, these serrations help with manipulation of the slide. So by the way, go ahead and show this. This is empty, but the serrations help with the manipulation of the slide, providing positive traction when handling the slide whenever, even if someone's hands are sweaty or wet, right? So that means that somebody can easily get in, grip it to be able to rack the slide nice and easy. So that's the front serrations, and even with the back serrations, nice and easy. All right, so racking the slide, which racking the slide means this. Okay, racking the slide backwards, racking it. okay, loading around. So one of the things that you're gonna see and hear from me a lot is, and we're gonna be doing demonstrations of this. And the demonstrations that we're gonna be doing with this is the utilization of snap caps. We will be utilizing snap caps today in today's video to make sense of everything that we will be discussing. But we're gonna put that right here, right? Because we really want to break this down from top to bottom, okay? So helping with loading rounds into the magazine, which we will demonstrate later. Ejecting rounds. So as you can see right here, this is an area or opening in which rounds or bullets or ammunition will be ejected from the slide or from the handgun in itself. Press checking, which is a technique used to confirm whether the gun's loaded or not. So press checking is when you take your non-dominant hand or the hand that's not on the handgun like this. So if you're right-handed, you're going to be holding the gun like this. If you're left-handed, you're going to be holding the gun like this. And you take and press check with the kind of non-dominant or secondary hand, right? So you take the front serrations and you grab it between the thumb and the index, right in this meat area, and you're press checking, right? You don't have to rack it all the way back, but you're just simply press checking because you're trying to see if there's something loaded in this middle section right here, right? Just a way to kind of do something like that, or clearing a malfunction. So there's something that they refer to as tap racking. So tap racking like that. So what's happening is you're tapping, trying to see if there's any other hiccups or internal issues that's happening. Tap, rack, and then what the goal is to help clear whatever may be in there. And then bang, tap, rack, bang, tap, rack, bang, right? And so that's a technique that they actually teach, especially for those who are familiar with that and for those who's actually licensed to carry in terms of having a handgun. All right, so that pretty much explains a brief description of really the slide, the upper. So what is the purpose and function of the slide? Well, for starters, it is responsible for the following when operating. It's responsible for chambering rounds from the magazine into the barrel. So for example, if you have a snap cap or a bullet, right? So for the sake of video and safety, we're gonna use a orange snap cap, right? And you take it like this by racking the slide. As you can see right there, what's happening is racking the slide and letting it come forward. What that does is that chambers the round from the magazine into the barrel of the gun. And as I explained with the press checking, you can see that, what's that? There's a snap cap loaded into the barrel of the handgun. All right. The other responsibility of the slide is help firing chamber rounds through the barrel. Now you can't fire a snap cap, but just to show you again, gun safety, right? Just to show you, snap cap still is loaded, right? And there's nothing else loaded into this magazine. When I go and press, right, you will hear a sound that almost sound like a device or a structure within the handgun is hitting the back of the round, aka the primer of the ammunition to let it, or to initiate the firing process of the bullet. Okay, so and then lastly, or one of the next thing is for ejecting the fired casing, ejecting the fired casing. So what happens is when you pull that trigger like this, and just to kind of show this really quickly, when you pull this trigger, what happens is there's a device that hits the back of the bullet, and it immediately triggers the it triggers or ignites the ammunition, which causes the bullet to be fired through the barrel of the gun. Immediately, as soon as that happened, due to the carbon and all that stuff, you name it, it causes the slide to reciprocate backwards, leading to the ejection of the round. Now, it's not going to eject through the bottom of the handgun, but more so through this side area as a forceful injection out the side. All right, just to kind of show you what that looks like. The other thing that the slide is really important for, it's important for housing. It houses the components that perform the task of firing, extracting, ejecting, and loading ammunition. Okay. So the components that I'm speaking of specifically is the striker, the firing pin, the safety plunger, and the extractor. And these are things that I'm going to be showing very soon later on once we get to the internals of the slide. So before we start breaking this apart, let's go ahead and move to what is then known as the iron sights. Now, I know they're called iron sights, but not all iron sights are made of iron. And for kicks and giggles, when it comes to the OEM factory sights, the front and rear are actually made of polymer. Now, I know these sights that you see right here are not the OEM. Please ignore that. If you want to see what some OEM factory sights look like, I could easily pop up a picture right here. But again, they are actually made of polymer, right? What's unique about the rear sight, the rear sight is a large white U-shaped insert outline on it, right? So when you look at the rear sight such as this, right, just to kind of show you, mine's blackened out, but on the OEM factory, you're going to see a U-shaped kind of outline on the back. Okay. Now, when it comes to the front sight, right, similar to what you see right here, you're going to see a white dot shaped contrasting insert. Now, a lot of aftermarket sights, they use something called tritium, right? It's something that helps glow to make it easier when you're aiming down sight to see when you're trying to align the gun with the target to get a better picture, right? But when it comes to the factory, right, it's not tritium. There's a slight little glow and you can't see it at night, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. But what exactly is the purpose and function of iron sights? Well, to keep it nice and simple, the main purpose is aligning the white dot on the front sight in between the white U-shaped outline on the rear sight, right? By doing that, that helps you see and align the gun with the target, the gun with what you're aiming at. Okay. The top of the front sight should be leveled with the top of the rear sight, while the white dot is still completely visible and aligned in between the white U-shaped outline on the rear sight. So again, that's me just pretty much telling you what things should look like when it comes to you aiming when you're utilizing your iron sights on your handgun, if you happen to have iron sights on your handgun, to keep it nice and simple. Next, let's actually go ahead and move into the barrel of the handgun. Okay, now we're about to go ahead and have some fun with this. Okay, so let's move those snap caps right there, and this is where we're going to start getting closer and closer to what is then the internals of this gun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate a technique right now. But through me demonstrating this particular technique, I will explain what I'm doing when I'm doing this, right? So for starters, we're going to go ahead, right, break the trigger or pull the trigger, right? We're going to reciprocate the slide backwards, and we're going to drop down this slide lever to then release this into two separate parts right now. So right now, we're still focusing on the top part. So without causing any distractions, let's go ahead and move the frame out of the picture of this handgun. So let's go ahead and move to the barrel of the handgun. Now the barrel, right? I'm saying that kind of uniquely. Barrel. The barrel of the handgun is a long hollow tube that sits parallel within the slide. So notice as I got done pulling the barrel out of the slide part of the handgun, right? So whether you look at it as an attachment or something that kind of sits inside of the slide, right? So this is the slide right here, and the barrel is what I just got done pulling from the slide in itself. It is machined from carbon steel with rifling texture inside the barrel, right? Inside the barrel. So it's a rifling texture. As a matter of fact, you can actually see it really well within the, from this angle. You can see a little bit of rifling. It looks like a little swirl that's inside the barrel of the handgun. So go ahead and dive into the purpose and function of this. This is where chambered ammunition sits, okay? So the chambered ammunition comes in and it goes up what is then known as the feed ramp or the ramp of the barrel, and it slides up to go in, and it sits in here waiting for a device, aka the striker or firing pin, to strike the primer to boom, fire the ammunition or fire the bullet through the barrel. Okay, so that's what's happening, right? So this is where chambered ammunition sits in preparation to be fired. Once fired, it travels through the barrel in the same direction the gun is aiming. All right. In addition, the rifling texture within the barrel spins the bullet as it is being fired. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, okay, the bullet is being spun while it's being fired. What's the purpose of that, Jamal? Well, to keep it nice and simple, the purpose of the rifling is for it to help create velocity and accuracy for the bullet when shooting the handgun, okay? So now you kind of understand, like, okay, now I get why there's rifling within the barrel of the handgun. But if you're somebody that doesn't care about those things, again, you can skip this part of the video or skip to the section of the video that you actually do care about, that you want more knowledge of, okay? So let's go ahead and move to the guide rod. So let's go ahead and put this barrel back in. And by the way, I will be making modifications to this handgun. So I'm showing this right now because the next time you see this gun, it won't look like this anymore, okay? So next, we're actually showing off the OEM factory guide rod, the OEM factory guide rod, okay? So it looks like this, and it actually sits right here. So if you didn't see me already, I pulled the guide rod from right here. So just kind of release it like that, and then boom. All right, so the guide rod, a two-spring captured device that is a two-spring captured device that sits within the slide, parallel and below the barrel of the handgun. The OEM factory guide rod is made of plastic. So when you see this, right, it looks, I'm gonna be honest with you, when you see this, this looks like it's made of metal. Be straight up. It's not until you actually start Googling and seeing some information that the guide rod in itself is actually made of plastic. Now, not the whole thing. There may be some little metal parts right here in terms of like this end piece and maybe something else, right? But for the majority of it, it is made of plastic. And I know what you're thinking, why are we using plastic inside of a handgun that's responsible for shooting bullets, something that gets hot? Wouldn't it melt? No, it actually doesn't. And Glock has proven this over and over again, shooting thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds through the handgun without any malfunctions to the parts that they use. So tried and true, this is worth it, okay? So what is the purpose of the guide rod? Because surely this piece of device must have some type of purpose, right? Well, it's responsible for helping control the recoil spring whenever the slide is reciprocated backwards and forwards after the gun is fired. Okay, so as I already explained, it's a two-spring captured device, meaning that upon shooting, as it reciprocates backwards, right, what's happening is the gun or the spring is actually absorbing some of the contact, as you see right here, is absorbing some of that contact, right, from the inner spring right here to the outer spring that's right here, is absorbing the contact upon reciprocation of the slide when it's going backwards at the firing, okay? What that does is it's It's essentially helping to keep the handgun slide in alignment as it recoils after being fired and when the slide returns back to battery. Now, when you hear me use the term back to battery, this refers to the slide's original idle position. The slide is aligned with the frame of the handgun. So I'm not gonna put it on there right now because the guide rod's not there. But when the slide is on the handgun like this, right, when it's properly seated on there, that is called the slide being within the battery. Slide is nice perpendicular or nice in alignment with the frame of the handgun. If the slide was like this, that means the slide is not in battery. If the slide was reciprocated backwards and it was sitting like this, that would mean the slide is not in battery. It must be in its original position, idle within battery. So back to battery, that's what that means, okay? So that is the responsibility of the guide rod. It's not until you start dealing with aftermarket parts where you start changing the guide rod, where the guide rod actually functions to do more things other than what the OEM factory guide rod purpose is to do. But that's another video for another time. But we just go ahead and keep it simple, okay? So that pretty much explained really the main kind of pieces when it comes to like these main moving parts, like the slide, the iron sights, the guide rod in itself, as well as the barrel of the handgun. Now, this is the part of the video where we're about to get into the internals of this actual slide. So stay tuned.
That if I said so, gang on his Venmo. He gon' duck, ain't no Super Nintendo. Ran out of shots, now my clip go extendo. He's doing hands, someone check on his mental. Can't tell who it is, gotta look up his dental. A whole lot of shooters, the strap is essential. That boy got erased like the end of a pencil.